Hi, welcome to Bobby Cinema. I'm here to speak about my. Hi, I'm here. I'm Bobby Cinema. I'm here to speak about the supermodel, about the topic about supermodels, all the best from the world. I don't know a lot of them, but one of them I know is Cheryl Tiegs. One of them is Chrissy Charlton. One of them is Cindy Crawford. There's Tyra Banks. There's Kathy Ireland. There's also Giselle Bundchen, Adriana Lima, and there are others I really don't even know, but some are actually. There's also Cindy Crawford. There's also Naomi Campbell. The reason why we are talking about this is because we are speaking about supermodels, about new and old and new generations, even their children. Some of them are probably going to fill in the shoes. Some of them have sons. Some have daughters. They're probably filling in the shoes right now. Take like Carolina Corcorva. You know, it's kind of hard to say her name, her last name. Her last name is so hard to pronounce. Carolina Corcorva. Do you know she's five? Do you know she is 5'11", 5 feet and 11 inches, and she has one or two kids. I don't know if she has a daughter yet, but if she does have one, it'll be kind of tough to fill in for mom. Fill in for her. Zion, suppose if she does have a daughter, and if she does want to fill in the shoes, what if she's 5'2", or 5'3", or 5'9", or 5'11", or 5'9", or 5'7"? You know, 5'7" through all the way through 6 foot or 6'3" is normal for a supermodel. You know, Blake Lively, you know, she is 5'9", and she's 5'9" or 5'10", and she's supermodel material. No actresses could be supermodels. Could look like supermodels. Say like Nicole Kidman. She's a 5'11", but she's like She's like nearly almost Elma McPherson's height, and she looks and acts like a supermodel, and she has an exotic beauty that every guy wants to be like. I always wanted to know about one thing about the supermodel area. Do you know Paris is like the if some supermodels do get discovered, some have to make a portfolio for everything from swimsuit to lingerie to regular clothes, and they have to create their own portfolio. All they have to do is find a photographer to help them, and also they have to send out feelers to any modeling agencies. But to get into the elite modeling agency, that's kind of tough to get into. There's also others, but I don't. But elite is the only one I ever knew. That's how Cindy Crawford got discovered. She was only 15 or 16 when she got discovered. She's been modeling since she was a teenager in DeKalb, Illinois. But she didn't have to go to Paris. That's like the minor league of modeling, where you get called up to New York. She modeled from back then, any supermodel you ever know can make about $1,000 or $5,000 a day. Like $1,000 a day is like $365,000 a year for 365 days. Man, can imagine get that kind of amount for one day. Just posing for jeans or posing for jeans or underwear or swimsuits. Man, that must be kind of tough. Man, that must be kind of cool to be like them, but there are a few cons about being supermodels. They have to keep their weight down. It's kind of tough. They have to work out. They have to eat healthy food all the time. It's not easy for a supermodel to keep their weight down all the time. Sometimes they're so hungry. A lot of times they do want to eat it. They do want to eat. Take a look if they were gonna go to McDonald's. Sometimes they give anything to eat there for one day, but and as a supermodel, they're still in training. It means they have to work 365 days a year, and they also have to make a lot of money. There's one flaw about being a supermodel. It's not like they're in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Maybe some can do if they play the cards right. They could get into a movie. Maybe not as maybe as a small role and maybe get a lead. Renee Russo was also a model too, and she got a lead. The tough part about being a what's the worst part about being a supermodel? Is not just keeping your weight down. Also, the paparazzi. They can follow you anywhere because you're not allowed to. They're not allowed to make one mistake. It's kind of hard, like being a. It's kind of hard for a supermodel to live like that. Afraid about making mistakes or screwing up. Take like a. You look at Cindy Crawford. She did everything right. You'd be proud of her. What is the worst? Name any supermodels you ever known that ever been an actress. If anyone could answer that question, I would be all for it right now. Well, if anyone ever asked about what's like to be a supermodel, the question is, I'm trying to answer that myself. It's not easy trying to think a lot of times. It's not like everybody's a speech. But I already told you that I already showed you a few cons. But also the traveling. Sometimes they don't even know where to go or what they do. Sometimes they could be like held hostage somewhere by some criminal. That's really bad if that ever happens to them. But they are smart ladies. Sometimes they can learn martial arts. Sometimes they can pass. Sometimes they look more like cops than supermodels. There are a lot of American actresses out there. But I can't tell them. Even some supermodels could be Miss USA or Miss America or Miss Universe. Some could be supermodels right now, but mostly half of them usually have scholarship money. Most of the time, like modeling agents or modeling agencies want to hire them after one of them win, or if they even were first or runner or second runner ups, hire them because some of them want to go to college. That's the reason why people. That's the reason why about beauty pageants is about. It's not about how beautiful you are. It's about what you can do for what can you do for your state or what you can do for your town. And if you win, you have a chance to get some money to go to college. Remember, the first prize is a lot of money for college. Just like first or second or just like second or third or fourth runner ups also get money for college too. There were other perks back in back when you won Miss USA. Not only will you win money for college, but you also get to be in an episode of Passions once. But right now, since Passions canceled a long time ago, you can have a guest spot on TV on a TV series or or another soap opera. That's one thing about being one thing about being a winner in a beauty pageant. You can go to public appearances. You can do public appearances, or also be on talk shows. It's really kind of cool. Sometimes you know, sometimes it's kind of hard to win, but all they ever want to do is be in the pageant. If you know, even if you can reach the top five, that's amazing. You know, some beauty pageant winners did become actresses, but not all the time. But some were. Even for only first runner ups like Holly Berry. She was in Miss USA and she only made it through first runner up. And she won an Oscar in 2002 for Monster Ball. And that was a tough game back then. One thing about supermodels is not just about the right clothes and the right person, right clothes, the right money, and also the right places. They get to hang out. They get to also hang out with elite guys. Once you're in the elite, once you're in the elite game, you get to hang out with lots of heads of state or mingle with them or get to talk to them, even for a minute or two. You know, a lot of times people thought supermodels usually only track good-looking, hot rock star guys, but I don't think so. Sometimes they can track heads. A lot of times they can track a lot of millionaires or billionaires, but not all of them. But I don't think Bill Gates is single, but doesn't mean he's going to be landing a supermodel anytime soon. Besides, he's looking for the right person to marry. Besides, marrying a supermodel or a beauty pageant winner, contestant is way out of his league. Is way out of it. Everyone knows what it's. Nobody knows what supermodels are like. Sometimes they could be nice, sometimes they could be tough, and sometimes they don't want to be bothered. And if I was me, if I ever did see one, I think I would look the other way or just walk through. But never talk to a supermodel unless she talks to you first. She says hello to you, you say hello back. You know, one thing about about being a supermodel is you have to be good looking. You have to be buff. Heck, you have to look like Chris Hemsworth or Tom Cruise. Mostly no supermodel will never say no to these guys. If you look like Chris Hemsworth, you can get any girl you want. Or if you take like Brad Pitt, he's single right now, and right now he can get he can get a supermodel, one hand behind his back. You know, he has a lot of money, but one thing I learned about supermodels, it's not it's not just about just good looks and wealth. It's about prestige. About can you support her? Can you take care of her? But if you were but if any supermodel, take like a Giselle Bundchen. She's already married to Tom Brady, and he's wealthy, and he has lots of money. He's good looking and handsome. You know what? He has to keep his weight down all the time. And trust me, it's not easy for a guy like that to keep his weight down and keep his good looks. Even women have to do that too. That's tough on them. But the perfect woman, like Giselle Bundchen, can always. You know, there were rumors that I think she and Tom Brady are breaking up. Well, even if they do get divorced, Giselle doesn't want Tom's money. She has her own. She worked hard for it. Heck, even if you were Bill Gates, you could pay her just to talk to you for a couple of minutes, or at least pay her like $100,000 just to get her autograph. If she has an autograph picture, at least if you're Bill Gates, he'll buy you like he'll pay you $100,000 for an autograph, or Giselle Bundchen. Heck, even pay $500,000 for an autograph picture of Sidney Crawford. That's only if you're Bill. That's only if you're Bill Gates. Sometimes an autograph picture is worth a lot of money. Or any autographs. If you get an autograph from Carolina Corva, her picture will be worth a lot of money sometimes. Only if it's only in a few years. Besides, a lot of times besides, the picture is always worth 1,000 words. What also is there to talk about supermodels? What about a lot of times you do see her in cars, like, limousines or BMWs or Porsches or Range Rovers. I don't think you ever. Besides, if you were just a regular guy, I don't think you want. She want. You don't want. I don't think she doesn't want to be seen in that with a guy who drives a Ford Bronco or a, or an SUV. But mostly I think SUVs. I think they'll like to be seen with, but Ford Broncos or some Ford car, and they don't actually want to be seen with that. But I think they'll make an exception because Ford is the best car ever. Take like a Chevy. Besides, I don't know if Ford has ever built a sports car, but they should. But if you want to be seen in a Ford, get the Mustang. The Ford Mustang is the best thing to be seen with a supermodel. And take like Chevy, if you want to be seen with a supermodel, if you are wealthy and you like Chevy, but you want to show off, but you want to be seen with your supermodel girlfriend, always get the Corvette and Chevy. Because the Corvette and the Ford Mustangs are always the ones that attracts a pretty girl or a supermodel. Because if you're gonna take her out, always get a either for if you're gonna take out a supermodel, and if you're super wealthy like Tom Brady or Bill Gates, always either get a Porsche or Mercedes or BMW or a Range Rover or a Ford Mustang or a Corvette or an SUV or a Hummer. Those are the cars that pretty girls want to be seen with, or supermodels. That is the toughest thing to be with the supermodel. Being seen with one is tough. Some are practically married, and half of them are practically seen or probably dating somebody else. It's like if you were invited to see them backstage. At the times, you don't even know if any of them are married or probably dating somebody else right now. But one thing you should never do is ever hit on them or ask them out. Always say hello to them, and you're really cool, and you're the coolest person in the world. That's one thing you can. That's one thing you can tell them is tell them that they're really cool and you did a good job, and it's a pleasure to meet you. But you don't say hello to them first. They say hello to you first. You say hello back. You never talk to them first. They have to talk to you first. Because that's one thing about seeing a celebrity, or it's like seeing a president or being a president. You don't talk to them first. They have to talk to you first. And once they talk to you, you answer back. That's the part of the deal about being. That's one thing about being a supermodel. About when you're dating a supermodel or meeting one. Supermodel encounters are really kind of tough for any other person. One of the best places to find a supermodel is either in New York, Paris, or LA, like Beverly Hills, or Anaheim. But I don't think you will see them in Anaheim or Newport, because that's possible to find them there. But in Los Angeles, not in Los Angeles. Maybe somewhere in Beverly Hills, if you see a buttload of supermodels or supermodel lookalikes out there, you could. But one thing is, you never know where you're gonna find them. They could be anywhere. They could be in Manhattan. They could be in Central Park. Heck, they can be anywhere. They can be anywhere. Heck, even if you go to Paris, it's not like you're gonna run into them there because Paris is a big city in France. Half the times you don't even see them in Dallas because it's not like you ever see a supermodel in Dallas, Texas. What about Boston? Do you ever think you ever see a supermodel in Boston, Massachusetts? No way, because I don't even know if they even go there. It's a tough market in the United States. The if you see one, it's like if you see Cindy Crawford. You ever see if you go to Chicago? Do you ever see her there? No, not even. What about Los Angeles or Malibu? Do you ever see her there? No, it's impossible. There may be millions of celebrity sightings in Malibu, but doesn't mean you can find one or see one. The toughest thing about seeing a supermodel is they could be anywhere for any person. It's like if you're on an airplane, it's like an airplane flight, and if you see one, you may be lucky, but rule number one is never bother them. They don't like that. That's just like in my topic, but celebrity sightings is never bother them. If they talk to you, if they see you, and if they talk to you, you answer back. That's all. Real question about supermodels is the clothes. Where do they get the clothes? Well, there are a few places. Well, there's only a few department stores like Bloomingdale's. There's also Vogue. I think that's a magazine, but mostly there's Gucci, Versace, Chanel, or there's also Donna Karen. Take like Kate Upton. She is one of the other. She is also a new elite supermodel, but she also was one of the most beautiful supermodels ever. At least she can prove to everybody that even she doesn't need to be like weighing 120 and 10 pounds. She could be a size 3 or a size 4 and still look very pretty. Everyone liked her. Everyone's in love with her. But rule number one: never talk to her unless she talks to you first. And by the way, if you ever met her husband, never talk to him. Never talk to him first unless he talks to you first too. Besides, tell him he's a big fan of you. Tell him he's a. If Kate Upton ever gets to talk to you, you tell him first that it's a pleasure to meet you. And then if she pleasure to meet you, and that'll be all. And it's good to see you. And she'll say goodbye back. Say goodbye, and that's it. Just like if you met her husband. If he talks to you first, you say, "Hi, how you doing? Would you sign this autographed baseball for you?" And if he says no, you respect that, and it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. I'm sorry to bother you. And then you leave. That's all. That's the topic about meeting a supermodel or meeting a celebrity. Besides, there was a lot of great clothes in Versace or Gucci. Heck, even Chanel. And I'm not talking about the perfume. What about like Donna Karen or Kate Spade? I think Kate Spade makes makes those bags, but I don't know if they ever make clothes. But like you said, they wore the coolest clothes in the world, and you see them in great stores in the world. It's like you always ask yourself, where do they get jeans? I don't think you get. They don't. I don't think you go shopping. I don't think they go shopping from the Gap, and I don't think you go to like a regular mall to get it. And I think it has to be in some elite stores like in Manhattan for supermodels. Mostly for me, they have to shop either in Manhattan. Take like in California, like in Los Angeles. Mostly only Beverly Hills is the only best place where you see a supermodel where they shop. But a lot of times you may not see them there. Remember Beverly Hills is a big city. You don't see them. They may see you sometimes, but you may not see them. Well, there were other supermodels that I know. I'm not talking about right now, but also ones that were actresses. Take like Nicolette Sheridan. She's about 5'7" or 5'8" or 5'9", and she looks like a supermodel. But love for me, she's only an actress, so she does look like a supermodel. But she should have been one. I don't know any other take like in the UK. I don't know any other UK models right now. But I think either it's Kate Moss. I think she's a supermodel. But take like Lily James. Even though she's just an actress, even though she's 5'7", but she looks like a supermodel. At the time, she looked, on TV or in the movies, she looks like she's 5'9" or 5'10". So I think Lily James could look like a supermodel. Take like Kate Middleton. She looks like a supermodel too, even though she's a princess. And she doesn't, even though she's just a princess, but she can actually pass as a supermodel because she's about 5'9", 5'10" in the UK. So tell me, are any supermodels in the UK right now that are famous? Because we don't know. Besides Kate Moss or Naomi Campbell, they're the only two English supermodels I ever knew. Besides, it's not like I remember a lot of supermodels in my time. Besides, the only supermodel before about in the 70s or 80s or 60s was Cheryl Tiegs. There was also Christy Brinkley. She was a supermodel from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Even Christy Brinkley wasn't just famous just for being a supermodel. She was also famous in the National Lampoon Vacation video where she gets to where she gets to drive a Ferrari. Trust me, that's one thing about being because any supermodel who gets to be in a movie or a TV series, they may not star in the lead, but they get to be in a guest spot for one day. Well, I'll tell you like Cindy Crawford. There were two TV shows that she guest starred. Actually, there was three. One of them is in Third Rock from the Sun, where she plays an alien model who dates a nerd. It was a two-part series, but she did a good job in that one. Then she plays a car salesman, and according to Jim, then number three, she was also in Wizards of Waverly Place, where she plays Bibi Rockford as a supermodel. Say like Rebecca Romaine. She was a supermodel before she became an actress, and she's about 5'10" or 5'11". You know, she was on Friends. She played Ross's date for one day. Didn't work out though. Then she was also on Just Shoot Me with David Spade. She played David Spade's short term short term wife. There are times in my life if I was the showrunner, I would have made her a lead actress. It'd be kind of cool to see an actor, 5'11", a beautiful woman married to a guy like David Spade. Besides, Just Shoot Me, there were other shows, but oh yeah, I think I remember she was an Ugly Betty. She did a good job in that. She did a good job in that series. Then there was also The Librarian. She got to be a lead in that one. She also got to be a lead in that movie too. And she was also on the X-Men series. She doesn't have a speaking role in that one, but she should have been. But she did a good job in that movie as Mystique. What's the toughest thing about being a supermodel? what's the toughest thing about being a supermodel besides the paparazzi, about keeping your weight down and make sure is also staying out of trouble. You know, it's not easy for them to keep out of trouble. They can make one wrong choice that can cost them their careers. Sometimes they can't even afford to get. Sometimes they can't afford to get pregnant right now, and that's kind of tough for them to keep their weight down if they were doing a modeling gig. But if they did have, if they were pregnant, it'll be kind of tough for them to do a job. Besides, even Rebecca Mean had twin daughters. Even Kristen Turlington had children too when she was a supermodel, and that was tough on her too. You know, to keep, to not just to keep her weight down, but also to have, and also being pregnant. That's really kind of tough on her, tough on a person like her. If I had a picture of any actresses that could pass the supermodels, take like one. There's also Gwyneth Paltrow. She looks like one. Even when she did an English accent in a movie, she can actually play. I think she could actually look like an English model. Also, she's also born in America, born and raised as an American, but she does look and sound like a supermodel. But she's also a smart lady. What's the word? What is the toughest thing? What is the toughest thing about being a? What is the toughest thing about being a supermodel except the paparazzi, the weight down, the avoidance. There's another thing that I want to speak about, but I think I'm going to keep that away. I'm going to leave that alone for right now. You mentioned if there was a supermodel. Also, managing their money. That's one thing about the toughest thing about being a supermodel is managing their money. You know, you have to pay their bills, their taxes, and their insurance every day. You know, that's tough. You know, mostly bills are usually monthly, and the taxes usually comes before April 15th. And also the insurance. You know, they have to put money in insurance in case anything happens to them. They also have to pay, and there's also the fourth thing is paying their rent, their bills or their rent, their rent or their mortgages. That's a tough thing about being a supermodel. Four tough things. You know, there were other. Well, I also know. Well, take like Laura Prepron. You know, she looks like a supermodel. She's nearly 5'10" and 5'11", and she looks like one. You know, if you've seen That 70s Show, she actually can pass. She looks like a supermodel. I know she plays a tomboy type, but she looks like a supermodel all the time. Why do you think she's very pretty? Even though she's just an actress, but if she modeled, I think she can actually do the job. Besides, one thing I always learn about actresses. And there's also Katie Holmes. You know, she's about 5'9" or 5'10", and she looks like a supermodel too a lot of times. You know, married to Tom Cruise is like winning the lottery, even after they were divorced. Sometimes I think that. Sometimes the lottery ticket usually ends, but hey, at least you get a good settlement out of it. Well, there were other things I always I want to speak about. Besides, this is a 3-minute. I'm speaking for 3 minutes, 34 minutes now. If there were any other topics I could think about right now, you know, there was always a question: is how do supermodels get discovered? I mean, Cindy Crawford was lucky. You know, she shucked corn for a while, and she was offered by a photographer to take a picture of her in a modeling in a catalog once. That's how she got discovered. That started from small to big, and she always had to work really hard to keep her grades up back then. What else is there to think about being discovered? I look at Rebecca Maine. I don't know how she got discovered, but I think she found a way. It could be anywhere. She can go to college. Sometimes they could be discovered in college or in sororities, or sometimes they can be anywhere. What is the worst thing you ever taught? One thing I always wanted to ask: what is the worst thing about being I think I already told you about what's the worst thing about being a cop. It's about I have a short-term memory about that. About being what's the worst thing about being a supermodel. Look at Kate Upton. I always want to know how she got discovered. I barely looked at her biography that much about how she got discovered or how she became a supermodel. Well, it's like kind of like being an actress. How do you become how do you become lead, be a big shot actress? Well, the same thing that they ever do. They audition. You just need to find a. You just have to go to a good acting school. Go to an acting school. And if you do a showcase, you might find they might an agent might see you and also may give you a part in a movie or a TV series. You can also be an extra, and maybe they can also pick you out in a scene. Besides, one thing about actresses, if you audition, sometimes you might not get the role, and sometimes you might get it. But if you get the role, you start small, and if you play your cards right, you might get a supporting role or a leading role. And sometimes it could be in good or bad movies, or it might be independent or bad, or just or a box office hit. You might have a chance to get, might have a chance to be elite. You might have a chance to be a star. From small roles to big to supporting roles to lead roles, you might have a chance to make it big if you're lucky. When I think of Cindy Crawford one time, when I seen her in that movie Fair Game, I know the movie was terrible, but to me, I think she kind of did a good job in the movie. Mostly, I think people look at her beauty more than the movie. Sometimes, that's one thing about that's one reason about one thing about models like Cindy Crawford. Sometimes being a lead doesn't exactly being a lead in a movie doesn't guarantee a box office hit. One thing when I saw the movie Fair Game, I think it should have. I think that it's not just the dialogue; it's about the plot and the characters. How do you do it right? What to do and what not to do. You got to make sure you do it right. And that part is really kind of tough right now. And believe me, if you're believe me, if you're smart, you'll have to figure that out yourself. I don't know if anyone's chatting right now, but if anyone's watching, but if you'd like to give me your opinion about who you think is the best supermodel, my top 10 is either my top 10 is Giselle Bundchenker, Naomi Campbell, Tyra Banks, Chrissy Turlington, Cheryl Tiegs, Christy Brinkley. There's Kate Upton. There's Kate Moss. There's Kathy Ireland. And also number one is Cindy Crawford. is my top 10. Who's your top 10? Who do you think is the top 10 supermodels in the world? Mostly, 11 and 12 could actually be Kathy Ireland, could be Claudia Schiffer, and Elle McPherson could be 11 and 12. When I think of Nicole Kidman a lot of times in movies, half the time she really looks really tall. Half the time she looks really look like a supermodel. But I don't know if anyone ever let her ever model before. But I think she could do a good job if she played her cards right. If I had to pick any, back in the '80s, if Elizabeth Shue or Jennifer or Claudia Wells didn't exactly play Jennifer Parker on Back to the Future, who would I would have picked? If I had to pick any supermodel to do the part, I think it would have really had to be, I don't know. I would have picked Kirstie Turlington, but she's too young for the part because that movie was set in 1985 and she would have been 15. I would have picked Kirstie Turlington, but I think she's way too old for that part. I bet there were other actresses out there. I bet there were other supermodels who could actually fit the bill to play Jennifer Parker, but I don't think I could find one right now because there's a lot of them in the '80s, and one of them, and I don't think Cheryl Tiegs would ever. I don't think you ever see Cheryl Tiegs playing Jennifer Parker in the Back to the Future movie because she's way too old. So was Renee Russo. They got her to got to be in the movie. Take like a. I couldn't remember. Take like Jennifer Connelly in Top Gun 2. She did a great job in that movie, and a lot of times she does look like a supermodel in that movie. A lot of times she does look like a supermodel in that movie. One thing I always love about supermodels is they never age. None of them do. That's pretty kind of cool, that they never age. Imagine Jennifer Connelly got to play in Back to the Future, but she would have been way too young. It's kind of hard for the right person to do the part. I don't think I would pick Cindy Crawford because she wasn't famous back then, and plus she was still in college. So I don't think if they would have picked her, I don't think she would have gotten the part either. Even if she auditioned, because deep down she was still in college, and I don't think she would drop out of college to do a movie in a million years. Not even if she was doing Back to the Future. But there are other supermodels I can think of. What about Kathy Ireland? Too young for that part. Actually, I think she would have been about. She was born in 1963, so I think she would have been the right person to do the part. But I don't think. I think she would have been about 23 or 22. She would have been about 21 or 22 when it was out. If she ever auditioned for the part, and I think she would have been the right person to do the part. But there's always one problem. I don't know if she was famous back then as a supermodel. She was in 1985. I don't know if she would have gotten the part. Beauty is not the only thing that can get her a part. You can get her the part. It's also about act talent. Can she even act? Kathy Ireland had acted in some movies, But could she actually do a lead role like in Back to the Future? Question is, we don't know. That's a tough question. Nobody's ever asked. Every day we're coasting by. We're seeing things that nobody's ever saw before in their life. Besides Kate Upton, who else could be a supermodel right now? Besides Katie Holmes or say like Lauren Graham or Sutton Foster, they look like supermodels. You know, they're about 5'9" or 5'10", and they look like supermodels. And that's how I treat they should have been. Even though they're just actresses, they look like one, and they're very pretty, and they can do the job anytime they can. Even take like Melissa Benoist from who played Supergirl. You know, she's about 5'8" or 5'9", and she looks like a supermodel, and she looks very pretty, and she was very pretty. You know, she had the geek girl chic out there that guys want to date. And trust me, she could if she could do the job. If she can do the job, if she could be a supermodel, I think she would have got the job in a heartbeat. Well, I am thinking about some other things right now about supermodels. You know, sometimes it's really kind of cool if they go to those red carpet events. You know, they get to go in limousines or even their own cars. But I think traveling in style in a limousine, going to red carpet events, now that is one thing to make them look good. Well, I'll take like Paris Hilton. Even though she was just some socialite and a party girl, mostly she could pass as a supermodel a lot of times too. Nobody knows what path I think a lot of times Paris Hilton does look like a supermodel. So does Ivanka Trump. You know, Ivanka Trump is about 5'10" or 5'11", 5'10" or 5'11". And she was a model before she went to the family business. And believe me, she was a great supermodel back then. What is the toughest thing about what is the toughest thing about being Ivanka Trump? You know, about not just about going anywhere she wants. It's about being the daughter of Donald Trump. You know, being wealthy. Well, there are a few perks about being Donald Trump's daughter. You get to go anywhere. You probably get to buy the coolest clothes. You get to go to the elite, go to any elite clubs in the world. Well, one thing about Ivanka Trump, she wasn't treated like royalty back then. Her father had to, she had to work her way up. She had to pay her own bills and her own bills back then. Just because you're related, just because she's Donald Trump's daughter, doesn't mean she has to act like one. So if you're only getting good at Donald Trump, you got to pay your own way in. That's the reason why she became a model in the first place, to pay her own, to pay for everything, pay her own stuff. You know, do her own thing. It's not because she had to, but her father always told her that if you want to if you want to be smart, you have to make your own money. That's what Ivanka Trump did. That's what all of them men do. You know, just because we're privileged doesn't mean that anything is going to be handed to us in a silver platter. Look at Donald Trump's son. You know, he's Barron. He's going to have to do what his like his siblings do. You know, they had to work. They had to make their own money and work for it. They also have to go to college too. So if I was going to tell Barron Trump about if you want to about how you can get with your father, do what he does. You know, go to a good high school, do well, go to Wharton and get your degree in economics, and probably get an MBA there too. Get an MBA there too. Once you get your MBA from economics, you can work a Trump organization in the door. But you also have to. They'll probably give you the keys to the kingdom. I don't think he would ever give him the keys to the kingdom just yet. He probably has to marry some. He probably has to marry somewhere that Donald Trump probably has to arrange or probably wanted to date. But I don't think that's gonna happen because Baron Trump can find his own girlfriends. But the other three are true. He has to go to the. He has to go to the. He has to do well in school, or at least go to college, and also go to college, and also like Wharton, and get an MBA there. That's how you get good with Donald Trump. Even he would have settled for an economics degree, but I think an MBA can open doors for him. Believe me, that's how Donald Trump can do it. That's how Donald Trump gives you the keys of the kingdom. That's how his children got the keys of the kingdom. They may not have an MBAs from Wharton, but they did went to Wharton, got bachelor degrees, and also worked their way up and worked for it. They ought to, just like them, they pay their own way if they want to get in good with their father. It's not easy trying to get in good with Donald Trump. I look at Joe Biden's kids; they all did very well. Joe Biden children did all very well. They all went to college. They all got degrees, and they did very well. Same like George W. Bush's kids, like Barbara and Janet. It wasn't easy what they had to do in college, but you know what? They were young, and they had to make their own choices. Make their own choices back then. And you know what? They did really well. They did well. They graduated college. They got good jobs, and also did well in their lives and married the right people. So when they got Barbara and Jenna, they did everything right. They like Chelsea Clinton. She looked like a supermodel, and she's very pretty. You know, she was American royalty, but she does look like a supermodel. You know, she's about 5'9", 5'10". Yeah, but she did everything. Right. She went off the. She did well in Sybil's school friends. Also went to Stanford and got her degree. Also got her master's degree from Oxford. Also, she also worked as a consultant before she had to get back to college and get her master's degree, and also her PhD in Columbia. And believe me, it's not easy doing all that, but she did really well. She also got the star in today. She also got to be in the Today Show. So that was good for her. Good for her to do that. You know, there's also another topic about supermodels. What do they eat? I mean, tell me, you ever see them eating? Do you ever see them go to McDonald's right now or Taco Bell? Okay, come on, imagine them in Wendy's. No, you won't see them there because they have to keep their diet down. They have to keep their weight down. They're not even allowed to They're allowed to look, but they're not allowed to eat and that stuff because they're supermodels. And believe me, keeping their weight down is not easy all the time. Even with all the exercise and also what kind of food they have to eat. Like, I think they have to eat a lot of vegetables like celery or egg whites, or some diet shakes, some diet drinks. That's how tough it is for them to keep their weight down all the time. Say like Jennifer Garner, she had to eat egg whites to keep her weight down all the time. There were a lot of diet drinks she had to drink too to keep her weight down. And believe me, she looks like a supermodel too. That's one thing about actresses that look like supermodels and acting like ones. is about keeping their weight down. Man, a lot of times, can you imagine if you ever do see them there? Can you imagine somebody like Kate Upton go to McDonald's right now? I don't know what she would have gotten, but I don't think she would have gotten a hamburger. She'd probably get a veggie burger, but a veggie burger, but she or some water. I think that's the only thing she'll probably get, because that's what supermodels usually get. That's what supermodels have to get if they want to keep their weight down. But if you're a guy, none of us have to worry about our weight problems at times. But if you're going to be in a movie and you need to keep your weight down, if I was me, just get the water. It's cheap. It saves you a lot of money. But I don't think there's anything out there that requires. I don't think there's any food that requires that doesn't make you keep your weight down or lose it, unless you're planning on a salad that doesn't require any salad dressings. Because trust me, what's think Whole Foods give you give you that. I feel like Whole Foods can actually keep your weight down. It isn't easy, trying to keep. It isn't easy for any person to keep their weight down. Think about their weight loss goals. If you're like, take like Rebecca Romaine. Her weight has to be around. I don't know how much she weighs, but if she's 5'11", she probably has to keep her weight down from 110 or 120 to keep her weight down. And trust me, if she has to eat at Whole Foods or eat a lot of vegetables or egg whites to keep her weight down, and drink a lot of diet shakes or any other diet drinks, that's what she has to do if she wants to keep her job. Male actors have to do the same thing. They have to keep their weight. They have to weight train all the time if they're going to do an action movie. If they're to lead in a movie, that's what Matt Damon and Ben Affleck had to do. They had to make themselves really buffed. Make themselves really buff if they want to be the lead in a movie. But if they have to do some weight loss, like to lose a lot of pounds, think about what they had to do to lose weight. Take like what Matt Damon would have to do to lose a lot of weight in The Courage Under Fire. It wasn't easy for him to do it. Take like actors just have to gain weight to be in a movie. Take like Tom Hanks. He had to eat a lot of ice cream to gain 10 or 20 pounds to do A League of Their Own. It wasn't easy, but he did that. And think about when he had to do the same thing in Castaway. He had to gain weight and also how to lose it. He had to lose that about 10 or 20 pounds or 30 pounds. He had to eat a lot of rice cakes or some egg whites or some celery or a lot of diet drinks to keep his weight down in a movie. That's the toughest thing about being an actor or being an actress, is about keeping their weights up and down. But supermodels, they work 365 days a year, and they have to keep their weight down every day, or they could lose their jobs. Besides, one thing about actresses, and how do they keep their weight down? Just like by exercising, eating a lot of health food. But if you're not working, you can you can eat what you want. But if you have to go back to work, if I were you, keep the weight down. Believe me, they're not going to hire you if you don't keep the weight down. Even if you're not working for like 6 months or 3 months, you can splurge right now. You're allowed to, anybody can splurge. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop right here. This is Bobby Cinema. Goodbye and good luck.